On behalf of our partner organizations, the Niagara Industrial Association, the Niagara Home Builders, Niagara Construction Association, the Niagara Association of Realtors, the Chambers of Commerce for Grimsby and District and Lincoln, thank you for joining us for the 2022 State of the Region Address recorded here at Balls Falls Conservation Area, presented in partnership with PenFinancial Credit Union. This year, it is a hybrid event with over 300 people tuning in virtually right now and just around 120 of us here in person. Thank you for being with us. We never take it for granted. My name is Mishka. Yes, it's wonderful. My name is Mishka Balsam, and I'm with the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce. May I ask you to rise for the singing of O Canada, performed by members of the Lower Secret Concert Choir under the guidance of Katrina Sacco. Thank you so very much. I don't know about you, but whenever I hear young voices singing or expressing themselves, I know why we come together for a dialogue like we're going to have today. Let us start out by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contributions of Métis, Inuit, and Indigenous people, both in shaping and strengthening this region in particular, and our province and our country as a whole. I would also like to take a moment to express our solidarity with Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian business community during these very tragic times for their country. Canada has the most Ukrainians outside of Ukraine and Russia, and we're all affected by what happens, especially those with close ties. It is my honor to acknowledge Niagara's municipally elected officials who are with us in person today. Mayor of Wainfleet, Kevin Gibson, Mayor of Pelham, Marvin Junkin, Mayor of Thorold, Terry Ugolini, Mayor of St. Catharines, Walter Senzik, Mayor of Lincoln, Sandra Easton, and Regional Councillors Barbara Greenwood and Tim Wayland. Especially, I would also point out that Robert Foster, Regional Councillor, is with us too, and he's also the chair of the NPCA. Thank you for all that you do for the community. And two more people to acknowledge: Brian McCullen, Chief of Niagara Regional Police, and President of Niagara College, Sean Kennedy. Thank you very much for being with us this morning as well. A day like today is only possible because of the organizations who have chosen to partner with us and who are by our side. It is my honor to acknowledge our title sponsor, PenFinancial Credit Union, Ridley College, Walker Industries, Electra, Deloitte, Niagara College, Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games, Forrest Woodhead Wealth Management Group, National Bank Financial Wealth Management, our host venue, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, Newstalk 610 CKTV, Move 105.7 and UTV. Our thanks to all of you. And as we find ourselves in such a beautiful venue on such a gorgeous day, a special shout out to our host, NPCA's Balls Falls Conservation Area. The Center of Conservation was opened in 2008 and is an award-winning LEED Gold certified facility welcoming annually over 75,000 visitors who come here to enjoy the nature hikes along the NPCA trails and the adjoining Bruce Trail, to step back in time in the Heritage Village and explore Niagara Escarpment and take part in various events and special programming that takes place. Balls Falls and NPCA's other 40 conservation areas offer many recreational opportunities that support regional tourism, and as they encourage people to get outdoors, be active, be well, and appreciate nature. Our thanks go to the NPCA staff, their board and volunteers for being stewards of these treasured places for all of us. You enrich our quality of life. Thank you. And a few housekeeping items for those of us who are here in attendance and in person. Face masks will be required for all guests in attendance. Please note that the restrooms and water bottle refill stations are located just outside of this room in the atrium, and emergency exits can be found to the left and the right of this room. And our code of conduct prohibits you from rushing to the front and striking any speaker. The hashtag for today's event is SOTR 2022. Just to give you an overview of the format, this event is recorded and will be available on your TV and to all attendees in the upcoming days. There are three distinct aspects to this morning's event. First of all is the handing out of Niagara Impact Awards, followed by the chair's keynote address, and then to wrap it up is a fireside chat between Chair Jim Bradley and 610 CKTV's morning host Tim Denis. And to start out, here's a message from our title sponsor PenFinancial. Their truly local commitment is the heart and soul of their philosophy, where they believe the prosperity of their members and our community go hand in hand, and we couldn't agree more. Ladies and gentlemen, a message from Ken Jensen, CEO of PenFinancial.
On behalf of PenFinancial Credit Union, it is our sincere pleasure to sponsor this year's State of the Region address. I would first like to thank the Chambers and business associations from Niagara for this important and informative event. They offer exceptional value to members and continue to play an integral role in the research, support, growth, and development of communities across the Niagara region. As we recover from the impacts of the past 2 years and continue to be impacted by global events, our collective commitment to supporting our local communities and residents is critical. At PenFinancial, we continue to believe that the prosperity of our members and our local Niagara community go hand in hand. As you'll hear in this video, we are proud of our truly local commitment to our local community and hope we inspire you as well.
All right, kiddo, you have earned this. Now, you're gonna wanna put that in the bank.
Or a credit union.
Hey, now, my kid should bank where I bank.
Well, what's more important? Your kid banking at the bank where your parents and their parents banked, or your kid growing up in a better tomorrow? We are PenFinancial Credit Union. Basically, if you live in Niagara, banking with us would help improve the lives of those around you. Credit unions offer the same financial services and products as banks, often with better rates and less upsales.
So can you help me diversify beyond Bitcoin?
I'm gonna set you up with a financial advisor. Elliot?
How can I help you, little man?
So I recently come into some money and I'm wondering where I can put my chips to ensure a bright future for me and my future offspring.
Step into my office.
Look, my bank has great rates.
They probably do. But in our opinion, great rates should be standard. At PenFi, we hold ourselves to an uncompromising standard of giving back to the home we love. You know, some financial institutions love slapping their name on the side of a building. We love helping our members finance humongous solar roofs to ensure more environmentally friendly operations.
That is so cool.
Yeah, we are trying to cool things down.
Before I leave the house, I usually try to turn off as many lights as I can.
Wow. Well, change starts at home, my friend. Like how we were the first bank or credit union in Niagara to pay all of our employees a living wage.
PenFi pays all their employees the amount it takes to live comfortably in Niagara.
Well, that's really nice.
Honoring our employees with a respectable wage, it's the least we can do. And it's just one of the reasons our employee satisfaction is so high.
Dad, Elliot taught me all about socially responsible investing. I didn't even know that existed.
I didn't know that existed either.
With socially responsible investing, we select companies that improve our communities and care for our environment, and exclude companies that have a negative impact.
So that your portfolio can better your financial future while keeping the world healthy.
Niagara's most complicated problems can't be solved by government and nonprofits alone, which is why we do our part by using our resources to help others.
Dad, can we bank with PenFinancial?
No, son. We can credit union with PenFinancial.
Close enough.
It's now my sincere pleasure to introduce Regional Chair Jim Bradley. Jim Bradley was appointed as Niagara Regional Chair on December 6, 2018. Previously, Chair Bradley served as St. Catharines City Councillor from 1970 to 1977, and for 41 years he was a member of Provincial Parliament for St. Catharines from 1977 until 2018. During this time, Chair Bradley held numerous senior cabinet roles, including the Provincial Ministry of the Environment, Transportation, Municipal Affairs and Housing, Tourism and Recreation, Community Safety and Correctional Services, and Seniors. During this term of council, Jim Bradley has championed many initiatives that have had a positive impact on the region. Some of these include passing a policy to encourage green bin usage, resulting in a 24% increase in organics diverted from the landfill, moving to create a single enhanced public transit provider for the entire region, ensuring Niagara is doing its part in its battle with the climate change, bringing in Niagara's first lobbyist registry to increase transparency with the public, championing initiatives that resulted in over $20 million being invested in affordable housing projects, providing experience and leadership throughout the COVID-19 crisis, leveraging relationships with senior levels of government to ensure Niagara has a seat at the table throughout the pandemic. Before entering politics, Chair Bradley was a teacher with the Lincoln County Board of Education. As an involved community member, Chair Bradley has also contributed to Niagara as a hockey and baseball coach, manager, and referee, and as a longtime member of the Grantham Optimist Club. Please join me in welcoming Regional Chair Jim Bradley.
Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much again for that extremely kind introduction today. Many of the initiatives that you mentioned, I give credit to our council for as a whole, and I am simply one member of that council. I want to assure you, first of all, that I'm not going to have any jokes. Having watched Sunday night, What Happens When You Tell a Joke, I had one actually for Mayor Sendzik, but I recognize, I know that Mayor Sendzik has a good left hook, so I thought it better of making any joke about that. I also want to mention the choir, first of all. They are very good. I'm familiar with the Lower Seacourt Choir. Over the years, they've had some outstanding performances in many venues. And I'll give a plug for Lower Seacourt right now. They're not where I'm going to. But the play Mamma Mia, at long last, is going to be presented in the month of May at Lower Seacourt Secondary School. And I suspect some of the students who are part of the choir might well be a part of that production. I was pleased to see that over 140 quality nominations were submitted on behalf of the residents, businesses, and nonprofit organizations. I was moved by the stories of sacrifice, generosity, and innovation that were submitted by their friends, families, clients, and customers of those nominees. We originally had planned on naming only 3 award winners, but after careful review of the submissions, we made the decision to present 5 Impact Awards today. Refining this list was a challenge, as there were so many deserving nominees. I want to congratulate all of the nominees who continue to make a positive impact across Niagara. Staying upbeat and positive was challenging in our recent past, and these nominees and winners should be proud of what they have done for our region and beyond our borders. While I cannot describe all that these individuals have done, I am pleased to announce the following winners. The contributions of this year's business category winner are well known to our community. As a grassroots community leader and positive motivator, Dan Giancola and his team at BTO Performance have spearheaded consistent Give the Boot To campaigns, which have helped to raise tens of thousands of dollars and new equipment for local nonprofit, disease-related campaigns across the region, and in doing so has helped raise public awareness for many worthwhile causes. Like so many of our local businesses who were forced to adjust their operations during the pandemic, BTO Performance quickly pivoted to offer free online personal training and motivational support services to local residents and their global community of online followers, helping to ensure everyone was able to maintain their physical and mental health during these challenging times. I would like now to call upon Dan Giancola of BTO Performance to come forward and accept the 2022 Niagara Impact Award for Business. Dan. In the community nonprofit category, our winning organization has been in the business of empowering women through service and advocacy, both in the community and globally, since 1929. Zonta Club of St. Catharines actively supports organizations and individuals that assist women and children locally and abroad, and serves our community through their partnerships and fundraising efforts. Zonta Club members organize and participate in vigils for ending violence against women and assemble hundreds of birthing kits for third world countries each year. In addition to all their advocacy work, the Zonta Club awards scholarships to youth who are studying public affairs, public policy, and community and global organizations, as well as those pursuing business, undergraduate, or master's degrees. Virginia Vickers, President, will be accepting the award on behalf of this worthy organization, and I invite her to come up now to accept the award. Please join me in congratulating Zonta Club of St. Catharines. Moving to individual awards, there are 2 awards being presented for 2022. The winner of this year's 2022 Niagara Impact Award for Youth is 16-year-old Niagara Falls resident Katie Ann Wolfenberg. After collaborating with local businesses and collecting funds to purchase a commercial barbecue, this young resident planned and coordinated community barbecues to help feed those less fortunate. Through her volunteer work with the Grow Community Food Literacy Center, Katie Ann later donated the barbecue to them for future community gatherings. Katie Ann can often be found at local markets, where she works to raise awareness and funds to help support the most vulnerable members in our community. Katie Ann's initiatives have served as a model and inspiration in our community and are helping to inspire many other young people to volunteer and contribute to society in meaningful ways. Please join me in congratulating Katie Ann Wolfenberg as she makes her way up to accept the 2022 Niagara Impact Youth Award. The second individual award for Niagara Falls residents, Bob and Louise Montgomery, who received multiple nominations for their work in giving back to the community. Among their many contributions, Bob and Louise have opened their home to a family in need, are volunteer drivers for residents who need to get to medical appointments, provide wellness checks on neighbors, and run errands for friends and neighbors in need. Bob is quick to help with home and vehicle repairs for free, makes wooden toys, and his garage is known to kids in the neighborhood as the place to go to fill bicycle tires. Louise volunteers at the Christian Benefit Shop, makes meals for families that are struggling, and sewed 100 bags for hygiene kits that were sent around the world. As they make their way to accept this award, please join me in acknowledging Bob and Louise Montgomery as recipients of a 2022 Niagara Impact Award. Our final award winners need little introduction. The Community Leader Award is being presented to Chris Sinclair and Adam Shields for their work in raising hundreds of thousands of dollars through the Niagara Golf Marathon. Together, their volunteer efforts over the past 11 years have helped many local charitable organizations, including the Niagara Health System, Wellspring Niagara, Pastone Mental Health, and Community Care, just to name a few. Adam and Chris's efforts have had a lasting impact on our community for years to come. The money they raise demonstrates their caring and leadership in action. To quote Lynn Guerrero, one of their nominators, when it comes to philanthropy and making a positive impact on Niagara, Mr. Sinclair and Mr. Shields are exceptional community leaders. Their dedication to building a healthier Niagara, meeting the basic needs of vulnerable people, improving youth mental health, and supporting programs that help individuals living with cancer has an immediate and lasting impact on the lives of local people. Chris was unable to join us today, but Adam has graciously agreed to accept this award on behalf of them both. Please join me in congratulating Adam Shields and Chris Sinclair as our 2022 Community Leader Niagara Impact Award winners. Thank you.
On behalf of all of our partner organizations, congratulations and cheers to all the award recipients and nominees. It's wonderful to know that Niagara is in such good, capable hands. Before we move on to Chair Bradley's keynote address, here is a message from Deloitte, and then you also have all have the privilege of hearing the Lower Secret choir for 2 more songs right following it as well. So here's a message from Deloitte.
Deloitte is driven by a deeply embedded purpose to make an impact that matters for our people, for clients, and for society. But how does one define impact? And how is it measured? Deloitte collaborated with business and policy leaders to identify the environmental, social, and governance metrics that provide a common framework for evaluating impact. And we're looking at our own performance through this enhanced ESG lens. Today, we measure our impact on the environment comprehensively, with the goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2030 and equipping our people to promote a healthier planet. We measure our impact on society broadly, aiming to improve people's lives, both within and beyond Deloitte's walls. We evaluate our governance deliberately, knowing accountability and trust have to be earned every minute of every day. Growth and financial performance remain important. They give us the resources necessary to make an impact in the world. But resources aren't enough. To be a responsible business, we have to set ambitious goals, measure our progress, and report it transparently. This is how we hold ourselves accountable. This is how we answer to our stakeholders. This is how we'll know we're making an impact that matters.
So we hope you enjoy it. And the second song we're going to sing is called Hold Fast to Dreams, and based on a poem by Langston Hughes. And the words, you'll hear them, but hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly.
You light up in the dark. You're the glow in a priceless work of art. Oh, I see a shining star. You're the light through the lights from afar. Oh, and don't you forget, the only thing that matters is your heartbeat going strong. Oh, don't you forget that nothing else can matter, 'cause you know where I belong. Oh, take me there, won't you take me there, won't you take me home? Oh, take me there, won't you take me there, won't you take me home? We light up the sky. Ooh, heaven knows there's no such thing as goodbye. Oh, 'cause love can never die, forever eternal, you and I. Oh, and don't you forget, the only thing that matters is our heartbeats going strong. Oh, don't you forget that nothing else can matter, 'cause we know where I belong. Oh, take me there, won't you take me there, won't you take me home? Oh, take me there, won't you take me there, won't you take me home? Ooh. take me there? Won't you take me home?
It's time to think about what it means to be from Niagara. It's not just where we are on a map. It's about who we are at our core, the things that bind us together and make us stronger as a community and as a people. Being from Niagara means being part of a team that recognizes we are more than just the sum of our parts, a team that can accomplish anything by working together, by collaborating, and by persevering even during the hardest times, and by putting the needs of the team above the personal. Being from Niagara means showing respect. Respect for our natural environment and all that makes Niagara special. Respect for the autonomy of our communities and their ability to craft their own futures. Respect for one another and the power of diversity. And respect for integrity, honesty, and the importance of trust. Being from Niagara means we take care of each other. It means we work hard to ensure everyone has a place to call home, that we invest in our future to keep everyone healthy and make sure they can get where they need to go. Being from Niagara means we are focused on results. Results for our businesses, who are the economic heartbeat of our region. Results for our seniors and those most in need. Results that make a difference in the daily lives for everyone who calls Niagara home. Being from Niagara means we stand back up when we take a hit, that we get on our feet and constantly reinvent ourselves, that we adapt and we innovate, but we always keep safe that which makes us special. What does it mean to be from Niagara? It means that we are never done, and we are ready to take on the future together.
See that video once again. It certainly does capture what we in Regional Niagara are about. Good morning to all of you, those of you who are here in person. It's nice to be here in this particular nice setting, but also those who are joining us virtually. I'm pleased to be here with you for the 2022 State of the Region Address. While watching that video, I think about the importance of teamwork and the importance of respect. I think about how those two things help to define our region and this term of council. I think about how those attributes are helping us to see successful results right across Niagara. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today, and I also want to thank the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, as well as the sponsors at PenFinancial Credit Union for once again partnering to produce this particular event. Of the countless speeches that I would deliver during a year, the State of the Region is among the most important, as it affords me the chance to communicate directly to Chamber members from across Niagara. Our local businesses make up the economic engine of our community, and it is crucially important for the public and private sector to work closely together. It is vital that we operate as partners and allies as we continue to rebuild our economy and forge a path forward together. Before we focus our attention at home, we should first reflect upon the resolve of the Ukrainian people. We stand with Ukraine, as well as the proud Ukrainian community right here in Niagara. While the unprovoked and brazen attack on Ukraine will have a lasting impact on the innocent people of that independent and democratic nation, it is inspiring to watch Ukraine's defiance and courage through exceedingly challenging times. Our hearts go out to those most affected by this senseless act and the Ukrainian people here in Niagara who continue to take steps to support their former homeland. Back in Niagara, few would disagree with the fact that the pandemic has really dealt us, I would call it, an exceptionally challenging set of circumstances that are truly unprecedented for those who reside in this era. We mourn the lives we lost during the pandemic and the long-term impacts on relationships, mental health, and the economy. But while the last 2 years have been hard, it is important to remember that Niagara did not quit. Instead, our businesses innovated and pivoted. Your government listened and responded. Individuals stepped up to take care of their neighbors and showed all of us what it means to be part of a strong and resilient community. The pandemic has forced us into a once-in-a-generation challenge, filled with incalculable loss and pain, but it has also been a source of profound inspiration, opportunity, and hope. The circumstances of the last 2 years have brought out the best in many of us, and I'm confident that we will have a stronger, more compassionate community as we move forward together. In the past, I have avoided commenting on the legacy of turmoil we inherited from the previous term of council. I always wanted to focus on the positive and focus on our future. But I think it's worth remembering how far we have come and the role that this regional council has played in getting us where we are today. In late 2018, the region was on the front pages of the newspapers seemingly every day and for all the wrong reasons. We were patiently awaiting the results of a highly contentious report from the provincial ombudsman and the hiring of the previous CAO. The Niagara region had recently been recognized as Canada's most secretive municipality by the Canadian Association of Journalists. Senior staff and departments across the region had departed and morale was at an all-time low. Many councillors, including myself, ran on a platform of transparency. We campaigned on a promise to restore the reputation of the region and to reverse the mistakes of the past. I'm honored to work with a team of councillors who took immediate action to set a new tone and reestablish Niagara region's character and standing in the community. Upon being sworn in, we took steps to create policies that will safeguard future hiring practices and help protect the region moving forward. We restored our relationships with the media, even going as far as passing a motion that I championed to support our local newspapers, radio stations, and television outlets. We hired key staff in a number of areas, including the Chief Administrative Officer, following a process that was beyond reproach. But we did not stop there. This council brought in Niagara's first lobbyist registry, ensuring the public can have a better understanding of who is endeavoring to influence public policy and how your dollars are spent. We approved a whistleblower policy, so our staff have an avenue available to them to report issues and concerns. Staff are now formally protected and encouraged to bring their concerns forward without fear of reprisal. We held ourselves to a higher standard, ensuring council's behavior reflects the highest integrity and what you deserve from your elected officials. The outcome of these efforts have been substantial and noticeable. Regional Council is not making front-page news across the country for mistakes and cover-ups. Our reputation has improved in the eyes of other levels of government. And more importantly, that same reputation seems to improve with our constituents. So how did we get here? It took all of Council working together as a team with a singular vision to restore and rebuild the region. And when I think of the team at Council, I'd be remiss if I did not pause to recognize that a member of our team, the late Sandy Bellows, played an important role in helping us achieve many of these successes during her term on Council. I know I speak for all of my colleagues when I say that her presence is missed in the chamber and a void is left by her passing that will be felt throughout the Niagara region for some time. But Council's accomplishments were not limited to governance and reputation. Despite the impacts of COVID-19, Regional Council, as a team, continued to make significant strides. We were never deterred nor distracted by the pandemic. We pivoted, we refocused, we never stopped working for you. We made direct investments into your health. As a council, we invested an unprecedented $55 million into the construction of 2 new hospitals, despite the fact that such investments are outside our core mandate. Council continues to do its part to ensure that you have access to the health care you deserve. We invested more than $175 million into the redevelopment of 2 of our long-term care homes. These homes will be world-class facilities, attracting private investments nearby, creating a healthcare hub with affordable living options. This term of council has also made history. Just last December, we showed bold leadership by voting to create a singular provider for public transit in Niagara. The decision of this council will change the landscape of Niagara for decades, benefiting passengers, environment, and the economy. The progress we made on transit will be part of council's lasting legacies, and I'm pleased that all of Niagara could come together to do what was right. For 2 weeks this August, thousands of Canadians will come to Niagara to celebrate sport, culture, and all that we have to offer as part of the 28th Canada Summer Games. We've made substantial investments as part of the Games to ensure they will have a lasting legacy. In addition to the Walker Sports and Abilities Centre located at Brock University, or the Henley Rowing Centre, every community in Niagara is benefiting from the game-related investments totaling more than $119 million. These facilities and the economic boost we will experience from the Games will have a lasting impact on Niagara for generations, and I encourage everyone to find a way to participate this August. It is my hope that the Games will serve as part of Niagara's reintroduction to the rest of the country, a signal to Canada that we are open for business and we are ready and eager to play host to visitors from each province and territory in Canada. And as a team, Regional Council put Niagara's environment first. We passed policies that drastically increased the use of the green bin. This single decision resulted in a 24% increase in organics collected. When tallied, 12,000 additional tons of garbage, or the weight of nearly 1,000 school buses, was diverted from our landfills in our first year alone. We safeguarded our green space, ensuring that 70,000 hectares, or more than 170,000 football fields of our natural heritage, will be protected. I champion a motion to hire Region's first manager solely dedicated to tackling the impacts of climate change in Niagara. And in partnership with all of our communities, we'll be hosting Niagara's first climate change summit in June to ensure we're all working together on this problem. It's my hope that we will use this summit to commit ourselves to emission targets, as well as developing a workable strategy to meet these objectives going forward. As a council, we pass policies to make sure that as we develop more of our region, we are protecting the natural elements that make us unique. There must always be a balance between development and protecting the environment. We have found that balance during this term. As a team, we are ensuring that we are being responsible and building a sustainable Niagara. But unfortunately, like the rest of the country, we have not been immune to the challenges of housing affordability. In response to this crisis, we have invested over $20 billion over the last 3 years to bring more affordable housing into the market. When combined with funds from other levels of government, more than $43 million has been dedicated to tackling this problem. But we also know that we will not fix this problem on our own. To help ensure that we attract private sector investment, Council voted to fund new incentive programs targeted at affordable housing. It's important to remember we would not get here overnight, and that any long-term solution will require all levels of government working in partnership with the private sector. Even though solutions we put in place today will take time, we will not give up. I look forward to the future, and I can assure everyone that affordability will continue to be one of my top priorities. We also confronted the problem of homelessness across all of Niagara. As a united council, we recognized how serious the issue of homelessness is, and we have taken action to address this problem head on. Studies show that we are the second most heavily invested region in Ontario in regard to homelessness, illustrating our commitment to making sure everyone has a place to call home. We have been innovative, taking advantage of pandemic funding to leverage millions from the senior levels of government to build new shelters that offer best practice service. These new facilities are staffed by professionals, and they are getting results. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Our staff have ensured dozens of people who've been homeless for years now have a home. This shift in approach is making a measurable difference in the lives of some of our most vulnerable residents. We also acknowledge the ongoing challenges presented by the opioid crisis. Sadly, every month in Niagara, and this is not exceptional to Niagara, but 13 people die as a result of their opioid use, and this does not account for the hundreds of calls that our paramedics respond to and those who are treated in hospital. The region, in partnership with the police, local municipalities, and senior levels of government, take every step available to combat this crisis and reduce the loss of life. We know there's more to do in regard to homelessness and the opioid crisis, and we will continue to make decisions that are required to protect the community. Over the last 3 years, we have all taken a harder look at how we treat our neighbors, how we view ourselves, and how the systems we have built work for everyone. In response to powerful movements such as Black Lives Matter, for instance, we took steps to establish a diversity, equity, and inclusion advisory committee. We are committed to building policies that serve everyone. We want to make sure that absolutely no one is left behind. After the horrific discoveries of mass graves at the sites of former residential schools, we put significant resources behind building better relationships with Niagara's Indigenous communities. This was a stark wake-up call that we must do better, and the time to start is indeed now. We acknowledge there's more to do, and we are still starting some of these conversations. But you have my solemn commitment that as long as I'm regional chair, we'll be striving to form productive relationships with all groups built on trust, transparency, and open communication. On behalf of Regional Council and the people of Niagara, I want to offer a sincere thank you to our talented and professional staff. Those who choose a career in public service do so understanding that their work will make a difference, that they may sometimes be put in harm's way for the benefit of the community. Whether it is the dedicated staff in our long-term care homes who continue to report to work every day through the pandemic, or those who worked around the clock to clear our streets of snow during the January blizzard, our staff proved on a daily basis that we owe them a debt of gratitude, and indeed there are staff in many different categories. But the most defining challenge of this term of council, and perhaps for many of you, has certainly been the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2021, it was our turn to actively fight back against the virus through mass vaccination. The Niagara region, in partnership with Niagara Health, our pharmacies and family physicians, has put more than 1 million doses into residents' arms. Coordinating hundreds of clinics at dozens of locations was no small feat. Staff across the organization worked in lockstep to smoothly deliver clinics at each and every location. Since December of 2020, 91% of residents who are 18 years and older have made the responsible decision to get vaccinated. To each of you who made the choice to get their vaccine, thank you. I want to be absolutely clear, your choice to get the shot saved lives, kept thousands out of hospital, and sped up our economic recovery. Last year, we reflected on the disproportionate impact that COVID-19 had on women. And I'm encouraged to see that the federal and provincial government have reached an agreement on more affordable daycare, and the region is standing by to play their part in that transformation. I do not have to remind chamber members of the significant impact that the pandemic has had in Niagara. While I've seen other dips in the past, we have not witnessed this level of disruption, surely in several generations. But I think it's important to closely review the actual indicators over the term to see how well we are doing. At the height of the pandemic, Niagara's GDP declined by more than $1 billion, representing a 7% dip. But true to the entrepreneurial grit of our business community, we have seen a somewhat rapid recovery, being just $400 million short of our pre-pandemic levels. I'm pleased to share forecasts that indicate that our GDP will grow by $1.5 billion by the end of this year, representing a 3% increase compared to where we were in March of 2020. It is not just our GDP that has seen a rapid recovery. Retail sales reached $5.9 billion in 2021, just shy of the all-time high we saw in 2019. Niagara's export trade also saw incredible growth during the pandemic, where we added $1.4 billion in business, or an astounding 31% increase. Since taking office in 2018, non-residential investment in Niagara topped $489 million, representing an 8% growth over that period of time. I'm pleased to see this level of commercial, industrial, and institutional investment in the community. I'm enthusiastic about this, what this means for our future. Despite the pandemic, Niagara continued to see new businesses open and thrive. From 2018 to 2021, we actually saw more than 1,500 new businesses created. These businesses are employing people and contributing to the overall economic health of our entire region. Finally, when we look at the job market, we've actually seen 4,900 new jobs added to the region. And while the pandemic had a disproportionate impact on women, we have seen female employment grow by 5,100 jobs since 2018. We know there is pent-up demand for hospitality and tourism, and no one is better to host that than we are in Niagara. I'm confident that as we continue to get close to a state of normal, we will see our tourism sector return in full force, and they're determined to do so. While we're not completely out of the woods, these figures illustrate that Niagara is well on its way to recovery, and I'm hopeful for the days ahead. Even though we had extraordinary successes this term, some of our plans have experienced delays. Looking forward, we'll have many opportunities to capitalize on our progress and continue to reinvent Niagara and build upon the momentum of the last 4 years. I'm focused on continuing to work with my colleagues on council, members of the public, and our business community to build a vision for Niagara together. I believe there is strength in diversity, and that my role is not to dictate direction, but to ensure everyone has a voice. The pandemic illustrated the importance of healthcare and the importance of medicine. In my view, the establishment of Niagara as a healthcare hub is viable considering the state-of-the-art hospital complex in St. Catharines, the redevelopment of the hospital in Grimsby, and the anticipated new Health Sciences Center in Niagara Falls. Together with Brock University, Niagara College, and private biomedical research firms in Niagara, the possibility exists for Niagara to become a center of healthcare and medical excellence. Becoming a world-class healthcare hub will play a significant role in our long-term goal to make us one of Canada's 25 healthiest communities. As we continue to find our new normal, we will focus our attention on enhancing Niagara's overall health for everyone. I also believe that Niagara is uniquely positioned to capitalize on the new working paradigm that revealed itself during the pandemic. Our geographic location and availability of GO trains means we must focus on how we market Niagara to be a choice location for businesses who are embracing the world of remote work. The opportunities of this new working reality help to better position us to diversify our economy. While Niagara's tourism industry remains a dominant economic force and will continue to contribute to our success, the realities of COVID-19 have revealed how vulnerable our region can be. So just as we were compelled to seek other economic opportunities when our auto industry faced challenges, we are again faced with the need to find more diversity in our economy. This does not mean that tourism will shrink in importance. It means that while we maintain a solid tourism sector, we should seize the opportunity to add to this strength by encouraging investment in additional areas of economic activity. It also bears mentioning that our quality of life, proximity to large urban centers, and relatively competitive cost of living will help position us to take advantage of the new realities of work. The pandemic and recent transit announcement illustrate how well the region and local municipalities can work together. We need to continue to find ways to eliminate any redundancies, reduce red tape, and ensure that municipal administration is as lean and efficient as possible. Looking at next term, I will establish a task force and partnership in Niagara's 12 communities dedicated to bringing back recommendations by the end of the first quarter of 2023 for consideration by Council. Finally, the issue of food security has never been more at the forefront in people's minds. I believe that we have an important role to play meeting the agricultural demand of our province, our country, and indeed the world. We have an obligation to protect existing farmland and to support farmers in every way possible to make a living. That includes, as Councillor Witteveen would tell us, ensuring that our farmers have access to the kind of irrigation opportunities that they require. The economic benefits from agriculture in Niagara are immense and have the potential to grow in the years to come. So when we look back on this term, it is my hope that we will see it as one of respect. Respect between my office and my colleagues on council. I believe we have a strong team, and I want them to feel empowered to do what they feel is right. The individual successes of a single councillor contributes to the overall strength of the entire region. Respect between councillors who are able to disagree with one another, but understand they are always on the same team, working towards what is best for Niagara. Respect for the autonomy of local councils and their ability to make decisions which are best for their own community. Respect and acknowledgement for the diverse views of each resident. I believe that more opinions around the table make us better and stronger together. Respect for our natural environment and all that makes Niagara unique in Ontario and indeed unique in the world. Respect for Niagara's businesses and the important role they play in our economic engine and generate our future wealth and prosperity. Respect for the future and the need to make investments in our public infrastructure. Yes, these investments do cost money, and this council has shown the courage to do what is right instead of what is easy. Respect for the truth, for ethics, for transparency, for doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And finally, respect for Niagara's residents, which we demonstrate each and every day by continuing to provide high-quality programs and services. I believe the future is bright in Niagara, and I'm enthusiastic about what lays ahead for all of us. As a community, we've been knocked down before, but we always get back up. We have faced many economic recessions, the financial impacts of terrorism, and indeed other health challenges, but we always find a way to get back on our feet. I've never been more confident that we overcome our challenges together. Serving as regional chair has been one of the great honors of my life, and is a position I continue to take very seriously. Niagara is a community that has demonstrated time and again that when we work together, there's nothing we cannot accomplish. I believe that we can rise to the occasion, match our problems, and be equal to our opportunities. I'm confident that our best days are still ahead of us, and you have my commitment that I will do everything in my power to ensure Niagara reaches its full potential, and we will do so in the spirit of collaboration and partnership. Thank you very much.
Chair Bradley, thank you so very much. Thank you to thank you for today's keynote address, but also thank you to you and your colleagues for your commitment to transparency, to EDI, to public transportation, housing, and your commitment to actually addressing the economic and social issues that Niagara is facing. So thank you for all of that. And now it is my pleasure to present you with a message from Ed Kidd, who is the headmaster at Ridley College and has been headmaster there for the past 10 years. And right following that, we will be joined by Jade Treadway, who's the assistant head of the school, Ridley College, for co-curriculars and community connections. And then we will go and lead right and directly into the fireside chat. Thank you.
Good morning and greetings from Ridley College. My name is Ed Kidd. I'm the headmaster of Ridley, and on behalf of our community, I would like to thank the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce for hosting today's State of the Region, and also I'd like to congratulate Regional Chair Jim Bradley on all that has been accomplished in the past year and all that we can look forward to in the future. Ridley has been a proud member of the Niagara community for the last 133 years. And as such, we are honored to be a sponsor of this year's event, to be a member of the GNCC, and most importantly, to call Niagara our home. For more than a century, since our humble beginnings on Yates Street in St. Catharines in 1889, we have been part of the Niagara story. We've gone on to establish ourselves as a globally recognized independent school, and indeed, Ridley has been educating students from Niagara for generations and preparing servant leaders to give back to this community and to contribute to the dream of a flourishing and vibrant Niagara. Like the Niagara region and the many businesses that call it home, Ridley has proved itself to be resilient throughout this pandemic. Indeed, we have emerged stronger than ever with an exciting new chapter ahead of us. Today, we stand as a global learning community comprised of more than 700 students from junior kindergarten to grade 12, more than half of whom reside right here in Niagara. The rest of their peers come from other regions in Ontario, from most Canadian provinces, and from over 60 different countries around the world. Each September, we welcome over 200 new families to Ridley and to the culture and the tastes and the businesses of Niagara. Along with our standing as an IB World School and an International Baccalaureate World School, we offer this generation of Niagara students a truly global education that is distinguished by diversity, a profound sense of belonging, and a commitment to service. Since the late 19th century, Ridleyans have been guided by our school motto, which is, "May I be consumed in service." This commitment continues today with the work that Ridley students and faculty and staff do annually to support charitable causes across the region and to help make ours a more generous and a more caring community. As I noted earlier, Ridley is on the verge of opening an exciting new chapter in our school's history. Our enrollment is growing, and soon we'll be expanding with a distinct lower school and a middle school, which will provide further opportunities for Niagara families to consider the legacy of a Ridley education. Earlier this month, we broke ground on a $50 million capital building project, the largest in our school's history. The project will enhance our already generous learning facilities and beautiful campus, and will feature a new learning commons, a creative commons, a new music center, a state-of-the-art fitness facility, and a squash center. When opened in 2023, these world-class facilities will not only transform the learning experiences for generations of young Ridleyans, but it will also serve the greater Niagara community and will be home to even more community events, summer camps and summer programs, local athletic events, and community performances. Since 1889, Niagara has been home to Ridley College, and we are very proud of that relationship. We are also deeply committed to serving as a community partner and doing our part to cultivate a flourishing Niagara region. Thank you, and enjoy today's event.
Well, good morning, Niagara, and on behalf of Ridley, it is my honor to introduce you to our fireside chat moderator, Mr. Tim Denis. Tim brings over 50 years in the entertainment business to the air as a talk show host, singer, actor, director, and songwriter. A native of the area, having grown up in Port Colborne, Tim's the longest-serving morning man in Niagara, recently celebrating his 45th year in radio. He began his radio career in Simcoe, at CHNR, and moved to stints in Kitchener, Welland, QRFM, and CHSC in St. Catharines, and WAIR, Traverse City, Michigan, before returning to his home, where he's been waking Niagara up for over 35 years. He's also been a frequent TV guest on CHCH Live at 5:30, guest host of The Michael Korn Show on CTS, as well as hosting the Canadian Search for Stars on TNN. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the fireside, Niagara's own Tim Denis.
Wow. How how long has Ridley been part of Niagara? Yeah, Jim and I were in school in that year. We were both there. This is so nice to see faces out here again, isn't it, Jim? This is wonderful. And if I haven't said hello to you, it's because I've forgotten what you looked like over the last 2 years. Everybody's been kind of saying, hi, it's me, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
welcome to our Flowerside chat. I can remember many years ago, Jim, the State of the Region addresses were handled basically by, you sent out a press release, and it came out by mail, not you personally, but it came by mail. That's how long ago things changed. We, these days, of course, with all of the technology we have, we're live streaming, we're talking about the region as a whole. And in those days, basically, the State of the Region address was, you know, we've lowered your taxes and we've fixed the following roads. That was the end of the address. That was the press we got. We're so pleased to be with you to talk about all of the issues that you brought up. Now, I have to point out, they've told us we have 30 minutes. I've worked with Jim long enough to know, and I've had him on the air many times when my slots in the morning tend to be about 6 or 7 minutes long, which generally with Jim means, how are you? He answers and the 6 minutes is gone. So we've got to keep it to 30 minutes. We have a number of questions that have been asked by members of the GNCC and other members of the community. So I want to bring those to you right now, Jim. And some of these may be a little bit repetitive in terms of what we heard on the State of the Region, but I think we could go back and be a little bit more in depth. So let me begin with this one. The first question has to do with you're not running for the federal leadership of the Conservative Party?
No, I've not.
All right, we'll get that one out of the way right off the bat.
They've not asked me to do so.
Outside here, this wonderful facility here shows us what wonderful conservation and wonderful facilities we have here at Balls Falls. Our first question actually has to do with our natural environment. It has to do with development and balancing development and our natural resources. Provincial plans call for more development, and our growing population and our housing crisis speak to this need as well. Can we balance the need for development with the preservation of all we see around us in this natural environment, Jim?
Tim, I really believe that we can, and I've often heard people say that you cannot have both protection of the environment and development at the same time. I've rejected that notion. I've seen too many examples right across the province, across the country, where you have both good development taking place and the protection of the environment. If you think of it, there's certain rules that we must follow. The provincial legislature a number of years ago passed the Greenbelt Act. So the Greenbelt indicates where we cannot develop in Niagara. But there are a lot of spaces in Niagara to develop. And we have a top-notch development community itself. Great builders of residential, of commercial, of institutional buildings in this area. And at this present time, we are going through what we call the official plan of the Niagara region, consulting people in this room, consulting all who have an interest in it. And through that process, I think you will find that we find the good balance between development and not. Think of Thorold, for instance, which is now one of the fastest growing communities in all of Canada.
Yep.
And applause for Thorold.
Keep it down, Terry. Thank you.
And the fact that they're not destroying land around them. They are carefully planning and utilizing land that's appropriate for development. Our development community itself is now cognizant of ensuring that they're not disrupting the natural environment. So between the provincial rules that are available to us and that stipulate how we must grow, I think it's certainly possible to do so. And I think at the end of the exercise of the development of our official plan, which the province says must be done by June of this year, I think you'll see exactly that.
Well, you know, some people will look at the word development as a dirty word because they love the communities, they love the facilities, the natural resources of their community. But you're saying we can balance the two because we kind of need to.
We absolutely have to. development in any part of the province, including Niagara, is very important. We have to provide residential accommodation for people. We have to have accommodation for businesses. We have to have economic activity taking place. So development is exceedingly important. It's just a matter of determining where it shall be and how disruptive it should be to the natural environment. And I think there's a fine balance out there. Here's a good example. We are here today, an area which is preserving the environment. And yet you may find close by that there's a lot of construction taking place. So for economic activity, we require development. And I reject those who say you can have no further development, just as I would reject those who say that you should be able to develop on any piece of land.
But there are two different ways to look at it from the region's point of view, because you have to balance, say, what Mr. Gibson's Wainfleet wants in terms of development as to what Mr. Senzig's St. Catharines would want. You've got those two that you have to balance.
No question about it.
Yeah.
And the kind of development taking place may differ as well.
Yeah.
We'll get into this later on, no doubt, because we'll be talking about a lot of subjects, but intensification is now the word that the province is using, that virtually everybody is using. When I was on city council many years ago, back when you started in radio, in those days, all you could have acceptable to people was a single family dwelling with a 60-foot frontage. And if you tried to intrude with any townhousing or duplexes or semi-detached, what you got was an uproar from the community. Not saying that that has diminished entirely, but I think there's a recognition now that if we are to preserve the farmland that we have in this area and the natural attributes that we have, we're going to have intensification. And so in the city of St. Catharines, for instance, their council has been dealing with an issue of downtown, a very large downtown development. You see a lot of development taking place internally in cities, which is important. Wainfleet may have a different approach to it, but I think it can be done. And with the people we have on council now, they recognize that. And with the community we have at large, they recognize it and are prepared to comply with that kind of milieu.
I want to go back to a little of what you talked about in your State of the Region address, talking about public trust. Now, you addressed, really for the first time in a lot of ways, the previous council and the issues with what the previous council had brought to the table. This term, I know you're very proud of a return to trust. A lot of that is stemmed from individual councillors and the commitment of this council to transparency. What kind of changes, systematic changes, do you want to implement, can you implement to ensure that trust and transparency continues after this council has maybe ceased to serve?
Well, I think that's very important. May I say before I touch on that we have 3/4 of the council is new at this time. That is a message that the electorate sent us when they have 3/4 of a council being new. We have some experienced people who have come back, thank goodness, who are providing us with that kind of experience. We have a lot of new people who have a different approach than perhaps we have seen in years gone by. That has made a difference. But as you point out, you could have a different council elected that doesn't have those same virtues, shall I say it. What are we putting in place? Well, one of the things we put in place, for instance, is a lobbyist registry. And that's thanks to Councillor Yip, who brought that forward, and Council debated and accepted that. Lobbying is quite all right in government. You come to government, you make your case, you try to persuade them of your point of view. That's quite legitimate.
It's part of the democratic position.
But what is needed is the fact that the public knows who is lobbying and who they're meeting with and so on. They have it the federal government, they have it the provincial government, other municipalities have it. So that's one step we've taken forward. Second, we have a new whistleblower policy, a pattern that you can follow as an employee of the region. If you think there's something wrong, something that should be addressed, you have the opportunity to bring that forward through a procedure we've established, and you're not going to be facing reprisals as a result of that. Because many people who are in any organization should be able to do that, to bring that forward for us. We have an integrity commissioner system that allows when there is a a problem with the actions of members of council, there can be an integrity commissioner complaint made, and that has in fact been exercised, and the integrity commissioner, totally independent, can recommend a penalty if one is necessary. So those are the kinds of things that are going to be essential as we go forward. I want to mention as well another, and this is not to play up to you, but you'll say it is, and that is the importance of the news media, particularly local news media. I have been saddened. I have been saddened as I look across North America at the loss of local newspapers in communities that they were an institution in those communities, and they're gone, and local radio stations that are gone. Or if you look at the staffing levels at the radio station you work at compared to what it would have been a generation ago, there's no question that the federal government has an obligation to bring in rules, perhaps such as Australia or France, that would result in a better case for a local business, media business as a whole, so that the advertising dollars or the result of advertising dollars going elsewhere can come back to local media. So we passed that particular resolution at council asking the federal government to do that. Because, well, I may not like it some days when I listen to the Tim Denis in the morning with some complaint about the region or about the regional chair, or when I open a newspaper.
Well, you were listening this morning, were you? Okay.
Open a newspaper and find something critical. But that doesn't matter whether I like it or not. That ensures that we will get the kind of government that we should if there's transparency, if there's openness, if there are those challenging us through the media. So those are the kinds of things I think will happen. And I must say, if we looked at the last election, there's no doubt that the coverage that took place previous to that had an impact on the ultimate results.
I want to move to the last couple of years. I mean, we're sitting around here. This is the first time that we've been able to sit around by myself in a public event in the last 2 years. But the impact of what's happened, the pandemic, wasn't evenly felt, even around this room, but definitely across the electorate of Niagara, along social or even commercial lines, Jim. A lot of these impacts have highlighted inequalities, the prevalence of mental health issues, gender issues, the rise of the opiate overdose situation among the poor and Indigenous people. You brought that up in the address. And the disproportionate impact on low-margin industries like the hospitality industry that is so vitally important to the Niagara region and to the arts. When we say that we're going to build back better, that term comes up a lot. That doesn't just entail addressing social and economic divisions that already existed. How do we build back better and not ignore those issues that existed beforehand, but the pandemic has kind of exacerbated them?
First of all, we look at what the impact has been on the community and recognize that. If you look at businesses, for instance, those of us on regional council have implored the federal and provincial government to provide assistance to businesses that have been impacted. The hospitality industry is one very good example, because governments have had to impose restrictions on them during the time of pandemic. And if government is imposing those restrictions, then there's an obligation on the part of government to be able to assist them to try to get through difficult times. So that's the business end of it. One of the very good things that has happened, again, I welcomed it yesterday, was the provincial government in Ontario taking advantage of the federal funding now for childcare. Because women, they said this pandemic has been much harder on women than on men. And that is going to be transformational. The social community out there is applauding it. The business community has been imploring governments to bring in a program of this kind. So that's one way of addressing that. If you think of long-term care homes, I think we always recognized they weren't perfect, but no one really realized how they would be impacted if we faced a pandemic of the kind that we have. And I think as a result of that, there will be significant changes and already governments have done that. There's going to be more employees there. They're going to be better paid there. If you think of personal support workers, they didn't have the kind of recognition they probably should have had over the years. Now there's a recognition of the huge role that they play, the important role they play. And so they're going to be paid more. There's going to be better educational opportunities for them. So these are the kinds of things. Mental health. Mental health was, unfortunately, if someone was talking about someone who had multiple sclerosis, for instance, we'd be out marching for that. We'd be doing our walkathons and so on. And someone would talk about being afflicted with that. People were always reticent about talking about mental health concerns. Mental health concerns have come to the forefront now. And as a result, governments and everyone happens to be responding much more to the needs for mental health as well as physical health. So those are the kinds of things that have happened. You have to learn from what happens during a pandemic and be able to address those. So if we face something like this in the future, we're able to do so appropriately again.
You made the comment during the speech that you were welcoming what the provincial and federal governments had done with childcare, and the recent agreement in the last couple of days. What role can the region play? That was my question. You said you're prepared as the region to sign on to that and to help out. What role does the region play in that kind of situation?
Well, the region itself provides some child care services. So we're able to do so. We're able to, with the new funding that's available, able to attract more people to that field. The pay was not great in that particular field. And now with the prestige of it increasing, the need being seen out there, and the dollars and cents going into it, it allows for better pay and benefits for people who go into that field. So that's where the region will be deeply involved. A lot of it is advocacy on our part. There are going to be some private daycares that will be taking place. There will be some public and non-profits taking place, a combination. But the dollars there were needed, and the federal government is providing that money, and the province has signed the agreement with the federal government and is going to implement it. And I was very encouraging. I know it came right at the last minute, but it did come nevertheless. And it was great to see two levels of government working together. And what the public wants, what everybody in this room wants to see, is not people clashing constantly, although advocacy sometimes brings that about. They want to see us working together, in the case of federally and provincially, regardless of political affiliation. We're fortunate at the local level we don't have political affiliations that play a role at all. And I must say with this council, that's certainly been the case.
Okay. I wish we had more time. I'd like to pick you up on that one.
I'm glad we don't have more time.
Listen later next week on the radio. We'll pick up on this. Speaking of working together, regardless of municipality, political party, or what have you, it's a nice segue, because one of the things that we have come together on in the Niagara region is moving forward with the Single Transit Commission, the idea of a Niagara Transit. And a lot of Niagara residents want to see this as the start of a lot of progress toward a better transit system, better links, more consistency, more integration with Hamilton, Toronto, and the GTHA. How do you see this progressing? What roadblocks do we still have to overcome? Because we talk about it happening. We know you and I talked when regional council made some moves recently. How do you see this moving forward? Are we almost there, Jim?
I am very confident that we are, in fact, there.
And that's all the time we have for that answer.
A lot of consultation took place, and some of the members who, elected members who are here, who have been on council previously, would know that this isn't something new to this council. There's a lot of study that has gone into this. They've looked at other transit systems. They've gone to the private sector. They've gone to consultants. Regional staff went to each of the municipalities to make the case for regional transit. And those local municipalities had to take into account how it would face them. Well, we got the necessary triple majority, which you need in Niagara to get something like that through. The local transit commissions that are in existence now are cooperating very well together. We've now established the format for our transitional commission that's there with a certain number of representatives from different municipalities. I think there's a lot of goodwill there. I think people recognize that, it's not, here once again we have the social justice community who've been advocating for regional transit, but equally, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce has said we need regional transit. And when you bring people together who both see the virtue of it, it puts a lot of pressure on elected representatives and officials to get it done properly. And I don't really see that we're going to have many challenges to it. Yes, they'll talk in the future about how many representatives might be from one area or another, but those are minor things compared to the implementation of it. And ultimately, they will be able to bring people to, when we have our commuter GO service, which we're anticipating, to the stations there. So that will make it even better case for GO Transit commuter service here. When you say they can go to Beamsville, as I still call it, town of Lincoln, you go to Grimsby, you go to Niagara Falls, you go to St. Catharines, where there's a station. You want to have public transit that will take you there. So, Tim, I'm very optimistic that any of the small challenges that are there will easily overcome. We'll be starting this in 2023, and it will be evolving and expanding over the years. It won't save money. I'm not saying it's saving money. That wasn't the purpose of it. The purpose was to provide a better service for all the people of Niagara.
We've talked about successes. We've talked about some of the things that have really gone right. I can't let you off without talking about a few challenges.
Sure.
These last couple of years, people have learned about working from home, something we never thought of before. And a lot of Canadians began working from home and realizing they could do that without commuting. A region like Niagara could be benefiting from an awful lot of people working in the big city and saying, I'm going to live in Niagara. I love the way of life in Niagara, but I can still do my work back in the GTA. Don't the issues like the transit issue, which has been a long time coming, and broadband internet, which is still a problem here in Niagara, stand in the way of, and the price of homes going up exponentially because of all of this? Don't a lot of those things stand in the way of a lot of people wanting to move to the Niagara region? What can you as the region do to attract them?
Well, that is true, that those are challenges to be met. We have made some progress in high-speed internet, and Rob Foster, who is here as a member for Lincoln, and he has looked after that end of things for regional council, done a great job working as we bring that kind of service to us. 87% of Niagara is now covered. We want 100% covered. But more recently, we've had 5,700 additional residences are now available within Niagara as a result of about $20 million in investments that we secured from the private sector and from the federal and provincial government. So we are expanding in that area, and I'm confident again we will continue to see expansion of that service as we go along. In addition to that, you mentioned transportation. Very important for us. But not only do we want people to, take advantage of that, we also want businesses to locate here.
Yep.
If people want to live in Burlington and work virtually here, our businesses are here. We don't want to entirely become what you would call a bedroom community, because you have a demand for services without the kind of dollars and cents you get from industrial and business taxes. So those two things are going to be important. We have something natural here. Niagara is really liked as an area. People who visit it often say, gosh, I'd love to be in Niagara because of the natural attributes that we have. The farming community, for instance, that's important. By the way, they need internet as well. It's not just the urban areas who need it. So I'm optimistic we can overcome those particular challenges, and we'll be seen as a place of the future. You heard me mention in my remarks, I think we could become a healthcare hub here in Niagara. And we've got Brock University, who does a lot of that work, Niagara College, who does a lot of that work. We have private sector entities here involved in testing and providing masks and other things. All that, some of that has happened as a result of COVID-19, for instance. So I'm optimistic that we will be the place of the future. We're also adjacent, of course, to the United States, which is helpful.
Oh yeah, that's right, we are right next door. You've worked in various forms of government, various levels of government. As you say, it's been hard holding a job over all of these years.
That's right, yeah. Several ministries, they just put them allow
you can't keep one job.
And they get me out of it.
No matter what level of government you're in, people want the same thing. They want their taxes lowered, but they want more efficiencies from government. They want, I'm the same way. We want better services for less money, right? And that means efficiencies and the search for efficiencies. In the Niagara region, we've seen a few issues come to fruition in terms of efficiencies, people in the fire departments working together, libraries working together, and transit that we just talked about. But are we streamlining enough, Jim? Are we taking that seriously enough, or is that too simplistic a question?
There's always more that we can do, Tim. Yes, we have taken those steps. Those who are CAOs in the Niagara region, Chief Administrative Officers, have been meeting on an ongoing basis, trying to identify areas where we can share services. For instance, the easiest ones, I think, are the back office services, IT, legal, communications, and so on. That municipalities, if they wanted to, could ask the region to do that or combine them. We've seen some examples of that taking place. But that's one of the reasons, and COVID-19 has really been disruptive to this, but that's one of the reasons I've indicated I want to establish that initiative to have us get together as municipalities again and try to find other places. I want to caution a bit. The Fraser Institute, which could never be considered to be a radical left-wing organization. Fraser Institute is a small C conservative think tank. They did a study between 2000 and 2012 of amalgamations, for instance, that took place in the 1990s. And contrary to what some people may think, they found in their studies that it had not reduced tax, the tax increases were the same in places that had amalgamated and those that had not. And that the debt levels, there was no difference in that. So there is a purpose sometimes to being more efficient. It isn't necessarily going to save money. The city of Hamilton, for instance, when they're as a city now, they have one fire department. That did not save money. What you have to realize is when you amalgamate, everybody will want to get the same contract that the highest paid people get. That's just natural, that's going to happen. By the way, I want to say another one that was very well done. Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, held a forum in Font Hill, and they had some excellent guests there who exploded some of these myths about what amalgamations can do and so on. And it was well done, and the presentations surprised some people. But we are looking at ways to be more efficient at all times. One of the things we want to do, for instance, for the development community is at the local level to speed up the process of approvals. Now, you can do that. The province, by the way, is providing some funding to municipalities to hire additional temporary staff to process them, because you don't want them to cut any corners, but you do want those approvals to come faster, and that would be music to the ears of the development community out there. So that's going to be important, and the province, as I say, has said they would like to see that happen. So I think you're going to see that continue to happen. They evolve over the years. At one time, waste management was local, each of the local municipalities. We looked at it carefully as a region and said, that particular service makes more sense at the regional level. And there may be some services that the region provides that a local government will say, something, that'd be better with us, we're our own community. So that is certainly something we're moving toward, and we're always looking for efficiencies any and every way we can without diminishing services to the people at large.
Jim, they gave me a list of 15, 20 things they wanted to get to. I told them we would only get to about 5 or 6, but we are out of time for this because I know we want to move along on time because it's the middle of the day for a lot of folks, and we thank you for being with us. We hope you've learned a little and we've educated a little bit. And Jim, thanks for this. Congratulations on this last term, and thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Tim, very much. I'll be looking forward to your criticism on the radio.
Thank you very much. For our closing remarks, join me in welcoming Niagara College's 6th president, who joined Niagara College as vice president of student and external relations in 2006, served as the college's interim vice president of academic, and from 2014 to February of 2020 as senior vice president of international, leading the college's global engagement in rapidly growing international activities. Ladies and gentlemen, Niagara College's president, Sean Kennedy.
Well, thank you very much, Mishka. And before I get on with thanking our regional chair, I just want to note, first of all, how exciting it is to be able to see people in 3D. And I want to thank Mishka on behalf of all of us here and those that are watching through the live streamed event. It's hard to do a hybrid event, and you're doing it again very well. Mishka, thank you for your leadership, to you and the GNCC team for helping to bring the voice of business forward, but also to always, I think, demonstrate a sense of partnership and working to bring people together, to work together to build a better Niagara. So thank you, Mishka. I also just want to say to Tim, it was the Tim and Jim show. I thought that was pretty good. Tim, we had the pleasure of having you as our convocation speaker in 2018. You're now, with your honorary diploma, part of the Niagara College family. But thank you for your many years of asking the tough questions, but in a fair way. Really, really appreciate all of your work. So thank you, Tim. And last but certainly not least, on behalf of all of us here and on behalf of Niagara College, it really gives me great pleasure to thank our regional chair for his extraordinary leadership in terms of public service, always thinking about building Niagara, building our communities, regardless of the level of government that he was working with and serving with. Jim, your leadership is extraordinary. I want to say, as president of a regional, a college that thinks regionally, it's such a pleasure to have seen the growth and the regional mindset that has happened under your leadership and with this regional council. What a difference teamwork makes. And as we look at Niagara College to continue to support our communities, it's so interesting for me to think about the alignment of what we're planning on doing around growing our healthcare programs, early childhood education programs, finding ways to support. We're going to be streaming through our broadcasting program the generational event that is going to be the Canada Summer Games. And then finding ways, of course, to partner. And I do want to note, in particular, from a Niagara College perspective, we were strong advocates for a long time for a regional transit system. And to get that accomplished is going to make Niagara more socially equitable, in terms of access to opportunities for seniors and for students and for workers, but also getting workers to the jobs. It supports our economy and it makes us greener. It really is a triple win. That was a long time coming, and I want to thank you, say thank you to you and to the Regional Council and to all of the elected officials for thinking regionally and getting that done. So thank you. And I have a couple of Niagara College products that I'm going to present to Jim and to Tim momentarily. Something that I couldn't do if this was just virtual. I guess I could say the bottles in the mail, but it's not quite the same. But before I do, I just to finish the thank you to our regional chair. Jim, I know that you're a big sports fan. And in your remarks, I was struck by the number of times you talked about it being a team effort of a terrific regional council, of a terrific staff at the region. And I know that is true. But for any team to be successful, it takes a heck of a great head coach. And I want to thank you for being an amazing coach for the region of Niagara. So last but certainly not least, on behalf of all of us here, the GNCC, and behalf of Niagara College, pleased to present Jim and Tim a small token of our appreciation, a bottle of Niagara College Teaching Winery wine.
Thank you very much. Just as a wrap-up, I would like to thank again our title sponsor, PenFinancial Credit Union, Ridley College, Walker, Electra, Deloitte, Niagara College, Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games, Force Woodhead Wealth Management Group, National Bank Financial Wealth Management Group, our host NPCA, Newstalk 610 CKDB, Move 105.7, and Your TV. And not to forget our amazing partners who've brought us all together today, the Niagara Industrial Association, Niagara Home Builders Association, the Niagara Construction One, the Niagara Association of Realtors, and the Chambers of Commerce for Grimsby and District and Lincoln. Thank you all for bringing us together. To everyone here in attendance, may I encourage you to stay for a while. We all have spoken about how nice it is to see each other. Please mingle. There is still some great food left over there. And the NPCA also invited that all guests are here to enjoy the beautiful trails and scenic views in Balls Falls following the gathering. If you're interested in doing so, and if you should stay on this afternoon for a hike, please stop at the front desk to receive the gate exit code for departing. Thank you so very much and have a great afternoon.